Hey up and welcome back to another video. On this one I'm going to be going through pike fishing floats and the ones that we like to use, where we use them and what pros and cons each float has, and hopefully for the beginners this will help a few people out. So firstly I'm going to go through a couple of still water floats and sort of a float that you can use pretty much anywhere, and that is the standard slim slider. These are Fox Rage ones and absolutely brilliant floats, to be fair, nice and robust, and these slim sliders are probably the most all-round float. You can use these on rivers, canals, lakes, and that's a very good all-round. If I'm going to get one float, that would be the one. The benefits of these are very easy to see, and they do come in a range of different sizes and a few different sort of shapes. This is a stubby slider and it's obviously a little bit shorter, a bit wider body. It makes it a bit more buoyant really, and you can drift baits about with these ones. Or if you want, or if you just want to lift anything off the bottom, these ones are better for that because they've got a wider body and they hold up in the water better. But yeah, in terms of slider floats, the way they work is by as the name intends, it slides up and down the line basically, and you set these with a stop knot or a float stop, and you can adjust them accordingly. And they're good because like you can fish them over depth and you can fish them dead depth, and they're just a really good all-round sort of float for starting out. So the next float that I use on still waters is the dead bait pencil, and these come in a variety of different sizes once again. Got Fox ones there. Again, all the Fox floats are pretty decent, but these are custom Mark Houghton floats. These are very good as well. But essentially I like to use these on still waters when the conditions are sort of not in my favour and it's windy, or if I need to fish at distance, these are the best floats for that. And the reason is, going back to the slider float, if I'm using these at distance and you sort of, if you're fishing them a bit over depth, that's what you'll be seeing. And if you get a drop back bite and it's, like I say, it's really windy, it'll just sort of go like that a little bit, and you can sort of tell because eventually it will start to spin around. But the benefit of these ones is, if you're fishing them cocked like I like to do, if you get any sort of drop back or a fish comes towards you, it'll just come up and sit flat on top, and it's much easier to tell when you've obviously got a drop back bite. And that's the only downside to slider floats when you're fishing far out really. So yeah, the other point of these is when it's windy, like I said, you basically put your rods down, put the tips under the water and tighten your line up. And because the line's under the bottom of these floats, there's no line on the surface or above the water whatsoever. So if it's proper howling it and it's really windy, you can sink all your line and it stops the wind pulling your float under with the line basically. So yeah, for fishing distance or really windy conditions, dead bait pencil with swivel on bottom is my go-to. And in terms of still waters, the only other float I use, which is pretty rare I get one of these out to be fair, is just a little bobber float. And these are awesome for drifting baits around up in the water, like a small roach, small skimmer, something like that. Anything you want to keep off the bottom and sort of have the pike looking up at, these are best for that because of the round body and the buoyancy of these ones. It keeps everything, you know, up in the water, and you can fish a lot easier to see at distance as well. So yeah, in terms of still waters, slider, best all-rounder, dead bait pencil, and you know, there's a variety of different types of floats for fishing them up in the water. All you need is a wide body and very buoyant. So moving on from still waters, I'll just touch on canals a little bit. Essentially, canals are still waters, and you can literally use the same stuff on canal. The only other time you sort of might want to change it is if you're fishing near a lock gate or something like that, and there's constant flow from gates opening, then you can get a bit of tow on it and you might need to switch it up a bit. But essentially, you can use exactly the same stuff on canals. Right, so going on to river fishing for pike. It's a little bit different and the rules sort of change because of the flow of the water. Dead bait pencils, no good on the rivers, you get the opposite effect. And because the line's under the water, the flow of the river pulls it under instead of, you know, with wind. It's a different sort of effect. And the best river float is, again, for me, probably a slim slider. and I found it's pretty important. You want to get a tapered sort of float, which sort of goes thinner to the bottom, and it sort of cuts through the water a bit easier, and stops the flow at river pulling it under. There's a variety, like I say, a variety of different sizes of these, and you can sort of, the more towy the river is, or if you're fishing in, yeah, like I say, strong tow, whirlpool, stuff like that, you need a bigger float. And you know, like I say, I've got a few sizes. This is a 50 gram Fox Predator float, and this one's probably one of the best for keeping up in the water. And then you've got smaller ones there, which are a little bit more sensitive, but realistically for pike, you know, they're not, despite what everyone says, they're not the fussiest of biters, to be honest. I've also got some sea floats, which are pretty good, very similar to these Fox ones. I've got them on at the minute, just trying them out. Same sort of idea, and they're made out of polystyrene, which are just as good, to be fair. So yeah, in terms of rivers, I probably wouldn't use anything else other than a slim slider or stubby slider. That would be alright river as well. And that's about it for river fishing. Very similar, you just got to do opposite sort of things to still waters, basically. You'll probably also notice as well, none of my floats are loaded. Everything's just as it comes. There's no weight on bottom of any of them, and it's basically just because I don't really think you need it, to be honest. I suppose it depends how you're fishing it and how you've got it set up, but for me, when we've just got it on a running lead, you know, you can't really get any more sensitive than what this is. If it's, you know, the terms of using a weighted float in the depths of winter when the bites are really, you know, really finicky, yeah, maybe, but generally it's not really needed for us, and you can pretty much see a bite on any of these floats when you get one. Another thing to do with river fishing for pike is it's always, for me, inline floats, inline sliders. You want the line going through the float, so then it's basically, if there's any sort of whirlpools, it can move up and down instead of getting pulled under. I mean, you could, if the river wasn't moving that much, you could use this sort of float if it was really slack, but as soon as you get any sort of water, because it's underneath, it just pulls it straight under. So yeah, inline floats for rivers are the best all-rounder. Like I say, this is just my opinion and what I've experienced. A lot of people use different stuff, but if you want just a set of floats that you can use pretty much anywhere in this country, that is what you need. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything that I use for pike fishing. Like I say, you can go anywhere you want with this, and you know, you're going to be prepared for any sort of fishing. And yeah, hopefully you've learnt a few bits off this, and you can go pick yourself some floats up now. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.